Videos and Voices of the Unheard. We are 2B Stream, a global youth media initiative, and we're keeping it ugly with me, Joe Ugly, and New Haven Athletic Director, Mr. Erik Patchkofsky. It is a great thing having him in the studio with us today. Erik, what's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
How are you, Joe?
Oh man, I am like, let me just get a few little things on it. Yeah, here we go. It's great having you, man.
Thank you.
Finally.
I know I made you wait a little bit.
Yes, you did, people.
I made you wait. I had a lot happen all in a short period of time. So
A lot. I've been wanting to speak with this individual for a while. Starting with all the things. First of all, let me reiterate, he is the athletic director here in the city of New Haven. How long have you been the athletic director?
um, I've been here 32 years, but
Whoa.
I taught for 20, and then I think I was assistant AD for 3 or 4, and then I think this is my 8th as athletic director.
Wow. Okay, so man, you got some longevity.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta say, Erik, what I see, what you put into the kids in the program is highly impressive. I'm not saying this because you're here. I don't got to try to blow smoke up your behind. No, I have no need for that.
Right.
But it's very impressive, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to speak with you. I wanted to find out where that came from, because something that really grabbed my attention is when I speak with the athletes, seniors, most of them are saying, "Well, I already got all my credits." Now, is that part of your program that excuse me if I could speak here, to steer the kids from their freshman year to their junior year to get their credits?
So we try to, before every season, meet with all our athletes and incoming, and let them understand what it takes to qualify if you want to play beyond high school.
Mhm.
A lot of kids come their freshman year,
Mhm.
and if they don't get with the academic program right away, and they don't know that grade, that F in English or that F in math follows you. You don't get to say, well, it was freshman year. So
Mhm.
you have to have a certain amount of GPA and a certain amount of SAT or ACT scores. It's a sliding scale to be eligible for scholarship. So one thing we try with all our athletes when they come in freshman year and before every season is to remind them. I mean, obviously we have 3 high schools and thousands of athletes. We can't give them all the personal attention, but our coaches, and a big thing that we emphasize is you're on the clock as soon as you walk in the doors of high school as an athlete. So if you want to play Division 1, 2, or 3 at the next level, you have to be eligible. So that's one thing, and especially when as kids get into their sophomore or junior year, you start seeing the athletes separate themselves. The ones that, hey, this is a scholarship athlete, and then we really have to pay attention, because the worst situation you would want is an athlete's he's a great athlete, he's doing the right things. Yes, school's interested in him, and then he goes to the school and they're like, we love you, but we can't give you a scholarship because you failed these 2 classes. And so, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. You wish you could give each kid the personal touch, but you try to get the information out there to all the kids and parents. And then, the kids that are very serious about it, and they gravitate to you, and they want to know, so
Yeah.
yeah.
The one thing that I also follow up with the kids, because we've been covering them here from Game Point now to Off Court, Off Field. These are 2 programs, if you're not aware, that are right here with 2B Stream. The things that, speaking with the athletes, it's so impressive to hear them. It's not just if I'm going to go pro. It's like you said, you didn't even get to that. If you want to try to go pro or anything, you said if you want to get scholarships to go to college. And when I speak with the athletes, that's a major focus of theirs, to get to college. And if you say, so what do you want to do after? As they did on off court, off field, they want to do other things beyond just trying to go professional in that area. Do you work with the guidance counselors and coaches and all that is that part of your process?
I mean, more the coaches than the guidance counselors. I mean, we do talk to guidance counselors when we need to. Like, one thing we do in our department is check all kids' eligibility. So if there's an athlete that we're not sure about, we reach out and speak to guidance counselors. But, the reality of that is, and one thing we talk to kids about is, only 3%
Mhm.
of high school athletes play college at any level,
Hmm.
not
Wow.
scholarship level, any level.
Only 3%.
3%, 3%, and it's less than 1.5% to get any type of scholarship to play.
Right. When you think about it, that number does look about right when you look at it from a national level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. I didn't even think of that. I had a kid here once who was concerned about he playing sports, playing basketball, and my thing to him was I always look for the teaching moment, and they were laughing at him like, you're not gonna go pro or such, and I'm like, yeah, but you could actually go to there's so many different places. If you want to be one of the 450 professional basketball players,
Right.
well, your numbers are smaller, but you could do sports medicine, sports management, and this kid elevated himself, and that's where he headed out to. His name, oh, I hate when his name slipped me. I'm at that age,
Yeah, yeah.
but that is interesting what you're saying. As the athletic director, uh, you're responsible for hiring the coaches. What do you look for in a coach?
So a couple things is we just went through an interview process for hiring a new football coach at Hill House. So it's good question on that time. Good timing on that question. So,
Okay.
I'll use this process that we use as a breakdown of what we look for. So we broke the interview into three different entities. They had to come back three different times. And
Mm,
the first time that came it was a general interview, like if you were interviewing someone for a
mhm.
job.
Right.
We have we had a parent, we had student athletes on the committee, we had football people. I didn't participate until I had the final
Mhm.
people picked. But in that first interview, everyone's asked the same questions. It's about their character of a person,
Mhm.
how they interact with our kids,
Mhm.
what their hopes are for our kids, what their plan is
Mhm.
for the kids, and then when they come back for the second interview, it was all football people, and they're asked, break down this defense, show me what we do against this offense, and this was like they were in there for an hour and a half each, like it wasn't quick.
Mhm.
Um, I happened to interview the finalists,
Mhm.
and what I really want to know when I get to someone like we know they know football,
Mhm.
we know they're good community people, we know that, but
Mhm.
I want to know is what do you think about our kids, and what are you going to do to help our kids beyond the field, beyond the basketball court, because a coach is so much more than a coach.
So true.
Yeah,
So
and
true.
like I always look for somebody who's like, is this a
Someone
guy?
like you.
Well, I don't know about that, but
No,
is this a guy
no,
that?
no, 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 no. I could say this. Someone like you, because I've experienced working with you. And again, not blowing any smoke up your behind, but the way you interact and your concerns about our kids, and I talk about kids of color, black kids, Latino kids, the kids of color. You have an emphasis to make sure that you understand first of all where they are, where they stand, and you put a strong emphasis on that. And I commend you on that because there are a lot of people in those spaces that it's a job, and it's just so if you get a good athlete, you're going to do that and ride it out and get your own praises with it, but you go a lot above and beyond with that. So continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So here's the question I was asking myself: will this guy pick up the phone at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday night from one of his athletes who's called him
Would they be
from?
like you?
Would they do that? Would
Mhm.
they get up and leave their house?
Because I've heard those stories about
Yeah.
you. No, 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 no. I've heard those stories.
Yeah.
That's why you're in this chair right now, man.
Yeah.
I kid you not. Go ahead.
But that's really what I look for, and um, are they like our track coaches from Hill
Mhm.
House? They go grocery shopping and make sandwiches and stuff for the kids before practice. You don't know what kids are going to need that.
Right.
They may not need it, but
Mhm.
same in my office. I try to keep snacks in there. I try to keep my office open for athletes because a lot of times, like last week, we had midterms.
Right.
Kids got out at 11 o'clock. They might
Mhm.
not have practice till 4 or 5 o'clock.
Mm.
So where are they going to go? What are they going to do? All kids can't get home and come back.
Mhm.
New Haven's not that small where everyone walks to school or whatever. So
Right.
it's what I look for. Is are you doing the extra thing to take care of our kids?
So that's how it works with now you say you don't work that much with the guidance counselors.
Yeah.
Now, do your coaches? Do you make that part of your program to
I
have the
mean,
coaches involved?
the coaches have to work with them for eligibility.
Mhm.
So there's certain, besides the college eligibility, there's certain eligibility requirements that the state requires to play. You have to be passing 4 classes.
Mhm.
We instituted a 2.0 rule in New Haven,
Mhm.
but we instituted that with a safety net because anyone can have a bad semester.
Right. True.
So the safety net is you could get a waiver for 1 semester
Mhm.
if you drop below, as long as you're CIAC eligible.
Okay.
And then the coach.
And what is that CIAC eligibility?
That is you have to have 4 passing credits.
Okay.
Full credits.
Okay.
So if you're a senior and you took most of your classes and you're taking 4 credits and you don't pass one, you're not eligible to play.
Mm.
So there's a lot of stuff that athletes need to weigh, and there's a lot of things the coaches need to know. And we try to make sure our coaches know all that and they share that with the athletes. And we'll do whatever we can to keep a kid eligible.
Are you part of the selective committee for, let's say, like if a kid, like I met the kid who is number 4 in the country out of New Haven, Willie
Darden Jr. Yeah.
Yeah, Willie Darden. Young man is right now in 7th grade.
Yes.
Are you part of the process to like get him into a high school here in New Haven and to working with him because he's very good, number 4 in the country?
So interesting. So I strength train, like I'm a strength guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I strength train. I do it.
Okay.
I don't charge kids who are serious about it.
I'm 15. What can you do?
But 2 years ago, Christian McLeese asked me to help him out. You interviewed Christian.
Right.
And we put 53 pounds of muscle on him. Wow. And a year later, he was player of the year. And he did all the work. I just showed him the way. But Willie's father knew that we did that. And they showed up one day. I knew Willie because just being around basketball and everything else. And, he asked me, would I help Willie with it? And, I very rarely say no to anything like that. So he's been with me a couple of months now, and he's doing really well for a young guy.
Now, when you do strength training, that's let me make sure I understand this clearly, or should I say the viewers understand this clearly. What are you focusing on? Because too bulky, of course, I would think it's not going to help a basketball player.
So in any sport, so you can strength train for any sport. But one, there's basic strength training you start out with to build basic muscle strength, weight, size. But then you have to balance the speed, the agility with the strength. So you'll see, and this is a study I read too. I get these strength journals from when I was in college, and I still get them. But I was reading a study about college running backs and how they have a great freshman year, and they go into the strength training and they have a great sophomore year. But then by their junior year, their numbers are all starting to drop. And the reason for that is because they strength trained, but they didn't speed and agility train. So they actually are starting to slow down, even though they're bigger and stronger. They're not faster. So it's a balance.
So you incorporate both.
Yeah. So like we use the Vertimax, which is a resistance jumping machine.
Okay.
We do all kinds of speed work, plyometrics, all that. A kid Willie's age, we only really touch the weights once a week.
Okay.
He's still growing. You don't want to overstress a growth plate or something like that.
Okay.
But the best thing that weightlifting does for kids is it's not the muscle and the strength. It's activating those nerves and muscles so the brain and muscles now understand how each other functions. And for a young kid like him, that's more beneficial than the strength and weight that he's gaining. And he took to it right away. Because one thing I won't do is a kid asks me, could you train him? And I say, yeah. And they show up on Tuesday and I don't see him for 2 weeks.
Right.
Like I'm not charging you. Like I can be home. I'm doing this.
Right.
So, but Willie, he shows every time, and he works hard. He works hard.
Maybe it's because of your reputation or what you do for these young men and young ladies as well. What you do for our kids. Maybe that's what it is. I was speaking with Christian McLeese.
Yeah.
I was not, but I saw the interview. I was in on the interview with him, and on one of our programs, and he was talking about your focus with helping them with mental health, clarity, should I say, more so than mental health. Getting them clarity, you encourage them to go on walks and that type of stuff. What is that?
So think about like being a New Haven kid. a New Haven athlete. So, well, I'm gonna segue into our conversation
Go
now.
for it.
You know, there was a fight at the Hill House. I
Correct.
mean, the cross basket game
Yeah, we're gonna get on that too. But if you
last
want to
week,
go,
but I want
yeah,
to just tie
yeah,
this
yeah,
into it.
go for it.
And the initial response to this is from our media is they don't know what happened. They know there was a fight,
Mhm.
and they write day after day articles, and I think that it's negative to our kids. Like they read this, they see this. You're looking at this, going, this is who we are.
Mhm.
And if they spent any amount of time researching what happened that night, investigating it like they should as a good reporter,
Mhm.
they would have known that the narrative of that fight wasn't what it was.
Mhm.
And imagine like you go to an away town as a team
Mhm.
and you're made to feel uncomfortable.
Mhm.
You pick up the paper, it's negative about you, like
Mhm.
all this stuff, and people can say what they want, but to me, my take on that is that's detrimental to our kids' mental health and well-being, and I
Mhm.
and I think our athletes need to be more focused than an athlete who's from Fairfield County or something like that,
Mhm.
because there's a lot more that goes with being an urban kid, and if anyone took the time, right? If a reporter came down and said, well, "Let me see what these kids are all about," and I know you've done this because you've interviewed our kids,
Mhm.
you're not going to find more quality kids than what we have in New Haven. You're not going to find that.
You know what's interesting about that? It's like, first of all, those guys, they're just looking for the headline and just want to just pout whatever it is that they want to on kids. But may as well do a deep dive on that
Yeah,
because this fight took place at one of the games here.
correct.
Uh, were you at the game or were
Oh,
you?
I was. So when the team shake hands,
Okay.
I have our security and I stand there and supervise this handshake.
Okay.
If you notice a kid's looking upset or whatever, I pull them out and talk to them a little bit. We've done this all the time.
So okay, it was a situation where one team was upset because they lost.
I think that the game got. You have two urban teams playing each other.
Okay.
It's usually a very close competitive game. This didn't happen to be.
Mhm.
I think that there was words exchanged, technical fouls in the game.
Mhm.
And then you got to make a decision at the end of the game. So I talked to our players. Are you guys okay to do this? They said that they were.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay. I knew it was contentious. I made sure our security and police were up there. And I know there's a lot of stuff in the press going, should we shake hands anymore? But if you say we shouldn't shake hands anymore, that means we've given up
Exactly.
on our kids. So no, I don't buy into that.
Mhm.
So we're in line. Some words were said, and like I said, New Haven kids were not the aggressor in this. And I was telling you,
You say they want.
we're not,
Right,
we're not.
right.
And I spent a few days angry because I'm like, they're writing this article, and it's really not about our kids, and they're painting the kids in a negative light.
Mhm.
But however, as I thought about it more, I'm like, those Bridgeport kids are going through the same thing.
Right.
They're going through the same thing. And probably even more so because when people started looking at it and go, well, New Haven didn't start it, they started more piling on the school there.
Mhm.
And I feel like those kids go through the same thing that.
But you know what's interesting about this, and it goes back to what I started to say about these media outlets who just jump on the sensationalized narrative, and they just run with that garbage, and they just blatantly ignore the mental health side of this. When you have kids who are 15, 16, 17, maybe 18 years old, and their frontal lobe is not developed, and you pile on all of this negativity on them, and then expect them to feel certain ways when they started off from a disenfranchised position.
And it's Joe, it's on our kids. This year we had, and I'm not going to name other districts, but we had a fight at a football game like the one that we had a couple of years ago that was in the news every day for a week. They had to call surrounding police there, and not a word of it was written. In Fairfield County, they had fans on the field refuse to leave at a state championship game. Not a word of it was written. I understand the first article. If there was a fight at a game, that's news. But when you want to write,
but it's still not news. It really is not news,
Right,
because there's something that that comes out of that, and that's as you highlighted behind the scenes when we were conversing, copycat.
Copycat. We had a fight the next night. But when you want to write a second, a third,
Mm-hmm.
and a fourth story about it, I feel like now you are
Inciting.
but you're also exploiting
Right.
urban kids to get clicks
Right.
and sell newspapers.
Right.
And what they should be writing and what they should be asking me is, well, where do we go from here?
Right.
We know where we go from here. Like
Mhm.
us in Bridgeport have talked almost every day since this happened.
Oh, okay.
And they've done a lot of restorative work with their kids.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing some with ours.
Mm-hmm.
And
Could you just highlight like some of the stuff?
I'm going to tell you what we're going to do.
Mhm.
And like, this is going to be coming out because it's not out. Like, this,
Oh, okay.
this is decided on today. But
Cool.
once the restorative work their work is done, we're doing it with our kids this week. So we understand the temperature of how the kids feel. Bridgeport has told us their kids understand what happened. They
Mhm.
don't like the impact of it. They want to make it better. I believe that 100% about our kids too.
Okay.
So we're bringing these kids together
Mm-hmm.
probably next week.
Cool.
And we're going to do restorative work with both teams together. We have a thing in New Haven called Project Pride, where we have 4
Okay.
phys ed teachers
Mhm.
who take kids and do trust games, climbing. We're going to do that with the kids. We're gonna feed them, and then we're gonna play this second game. We're gonna
That's
play
cool.
this game.
That's cool.
I'm not giving. I don't care what the media writes.
Mm-hmm.
Neither Bridgeport nor us are going to give up on our kids because there was a mistake.
Right. And when you do this game, by the way, I'm going to push in for it. Is it going to be any time in the near?
So once we see how everything goes,
Mhm.
we want to play on a neutral site.
Okay. Now, what is that still going to be part of the conference?
Yeah,
or
well, it'll be part of the schedule. So 'cause
schedule.
there was a second game that was supposed to be played
Mhm.
on Monday
This coming Monday?
that just passed.
Just last yesterday.
that we
Okay.
postponed
Oh, that's
because, that's the other thing. You don't want to throw the kids back into it
Right.
until they can process it,
Right.
understand what happened,
Correct.
and then go from there.
Hell, if the NFL could have canceled for that or for the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati game,
Yeah.
of course you did the right thing there.
No, I mean we punishing kids. Yes, I won't talk about what discipline we did, but both districts did do discipline to kids who showed that it was outside of where they should have been in the
Mhm.
circumstance. But you can't end it with punishing kids.
Correct.
Where do you go from there? And at least for me, our kids are going to say, yes, we made a mistake,
Mm-hmm.
but we fixed the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to play this game the way we're supposed to, the second game. But the media doesn't give them an opportunity to do that because they just write, look what happened. Look what these kids did. Here's an opinion piece. Those kids should be kicked off the team for. There's opinion pieces out there. People say
Right.
our kids should be off the team for a year. But my question to who wrote that was, if somebody walks up to you and starts swinging on you, do you just sit there and let them do that, or you defend yourself?
Of course.
And then when it's over, do you just I got assaulted in a parking lot at Stop and Shop. I'm never going there again.
Right.
Or do you figure out
Right.
what happened and
Right.
then try to correct it?
I just have to ask, these opinion pieces, doesn't it ruin the chances for these young kids in college, especially if they're star athletes, for scholarships as well?
I don't think so. And,
Okay.
and the reason why I say that is, at least the years that I've been involved,
Mm-hmm.
the college coaches, I believe, have come to realize
Mm.
the level of quality
Mm-hmm.
that urban athletes are as people.
Right.
Mm.
And they know.
Right.
They know what's going on.
All the people that I talked to since this happened,
Mm-hmm.
they know.
Right.
And I'm not saying our kids are perfect, but
But they
we're
understand
any of
They're
us
kids.
Right. We're any of
Right.
us perfect.
Right.
Kids.
You know
Like,
something? A police chief, a former police chief, told me a long time ago. He said, he was from the suburbs, by the way. He said, some stuff just don't hit the media
Correct.
because when he said this, it made a lot of sense. He said because we don't want to drive property value down out here, and I was like, oh
yeah, it is.
Now he's been long retired and moved on, so yeah. But just think of that mentality.
Yeah. I have a really interesting view on it all because I grew up in a very small town.
Mm.
So I understand that mentality. I
Uh-huh.
don't agree with that mentality, but I understand it.
Yeah.
We need to, as a community,
Mhm.
protect our kids because
Correct.
a lot of stuff sometimes you'll read about a kid, he got jammed up, this happened, it's in the paper,
Mhm.
and you'll know the kid personally, and I'm like, this is a good kid. How did it get here?
And there's
That's
always a immediate circumstance.
right. But
You know,
how did we get here?
right.
That's the question.
Look, I know one kid who was here in New Haven was doing good, and then I saw his name in the paper. This a few years back. His name was in the paper for stealing something at a local. I think it was at Walmart, and I was like, well, immediate circumstance.
Right.
You know, I'm not condoning what he did.
No.
I'm not doing that in the slightest. But to answer the question that you asked, how did it get here?
And one thing that I've seen, and it's really powerful, is I get some ability to give some kids jobs during the year.
Nice.
I have some part-time money where I can hire students,
Mm-hmm.
and you take somebody and you give them that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You watch them grow while they have this opportunity and be able to buy themselves some clothes,
Mm-hmm.
feed themselves, take care of themselves,
Yep.
sometimes even help their family.
Right.
And you would be shocked what that does.
Oh,
to your
I
kids'
know.
growth as a person,
Right.
right? But we don't concentrate on that. We don't do that.
Your 8 years coming in.
Yeah.
Is this what you had in mind when I hit an athletic director? I'm going to be focusing on these kids at this level because you you have a father-like approach to this, a true father.
So I'm a teacher at heart. I taught for 20 years.
Well,
But-
come on, man. I know people who
but-
taught for
no,
40
but-
years, and you're like,
But I
oh,
I didn't plan on being this job. I got brought down to be an assistant, and the person before me decided into the school year, he's like, it's not for me no more. I'm retired. And I was there. And so I ended up,
but you're a teacher, athletics.
so at that time I was his assistant. I was teaching some classes in the school,
Mhm.
and I was running middle school sports for him. But
Wow.
when I first came to New Haven
Mhm.
to teach in the 1991, I believe,
Damn.
I was at Wexler
Oh.
when the low rise projects
Projects
were
were still there. Foot
And-
school. Foot project. Foot
yeah,
street.
and I got to tell you, that was the greatest community.
Hey.
Every kid that lived in that community went to Wexler.
Yep.
There was no busing; they all walked to school.
Right.
You knew every mom. You asked me about like my godson. Well, that's how
Right.
there's people from that community.
Ah.
So you knew every.
He grew up over there.
Yes.
Okay, but he's way after me.
Yeah, Southwest Drive.
It's funny. I just got to interject. I used to hang out in those projects so much.
Yeah.
We talk about the Ashman Street project.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I hung out there so much. There's people today that believed I lived there, and because you know CY, right?
Of course.
Yeah, CY and I grew up. The white family and I, we were always close. Norm, Cardell.
Yeah.
By the way, Cardell just got inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Did you know the Alec brothers?
Alec. Yes.
I
yes.
coached all 11 of them. I coached the Q House for 15 years. I coached all 11 Alec brothers.
So you were there when Mink was over there.
Yes.
Yeah, Minko.
Yeah.
Mink Fernandez. Okay, so let this thing go. So you got into this with the driving force of you're just a teacher. You're a teacher at heart. You got thrown into this, and then you brought over this. It's more than a teacher.
I just
approach.
brought what I did with. So I was fortunate. So I was just out of school. I got this teaching job. I'm
How old were you?
24.
Just out of school. 24 years old. I was
Wow.
already figuring out this. No,
Nice.
that's huge.
Right. So I get this teaching job, and they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
go to Lower Dixwell Avenue and teach.
Yeah.
Nice.
No experience.
Yeah.
And that community,
Mm-hmm.
the older women from down south who taught there
Mm-hmm.
were like my moms.
Yeah.
The moms of the kids that I taught were like would come in and coach me when the kids misbehaved.
Is that right?
Yeah, like they just embraced me so much that
Mhm.
like
Didn't get that in your
not
little white
Beacon Falls,
community,
no.
right?
but they embraced me so much and made me feel so much part of that community. It just
Mhm.
became what I did.
That's
I don't-
one of the reasons why I hung out there.
Yeah, I
You
don't
get
think it was
community.
me. Like I didn't like have this master plan. I'm gonna help these kids. I'm gonna be involved. Like they made me involved. They made you part of that community, and I just something I've always carried with me.
You know, you speak of community and neighborhoods. I lived out on one of the most affluent neighborhoods here on the shoreline, at one point in my time. I remember one of the neighbors, older woman, she said to me, how do you like the neighborhood? I said, beautiful neighborhood, terrible community. And she said, the look on her face was like, what do you mean? I'm like, people walk by each other and don't even speak, don't even say hello. I mean, you could say hi to some people, they just look like, who are you? What do you mean? There's no, and it's not just me. They do it to others too, and I watch them. It's just like no community. I said I can go into New Haven and nearly every block I walk, I'm going to see people are going to speak. Hey, how you doing? It's a common thing. Now, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So you're from that era. Speaking of when people used to speak more, do you see where kids don't communicate with each other like they used to?
It's the phone. It's the social media. They could like. I will watch. So, like I told you, you've been in my office. I have it open for kids. They'll come in and sit at my conference table, eat snacks, talk. But I'll watch kids for hours communicate with not the kids who are sitting in the room in front of them, but on their phones with other people or social media or whatever. We didn't grow up with that. I didn't have a phone. So.
Funny that you said that. I had a Christmas gathering at my apartment, and we're all sitting around there, and it was real cool. It was nice. But I look around, and you see the room. Everybody's on their damn phone. I'm like, no, stop. Yeah. Everybody, what the hell? Put on your phone. You can't have a room full of people and everyone, the music is playing. Everyone. No.
It's hard though, right?
Yeah.
What's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning?
Exactly. Check your phone.
Yeah, exactly. You can't even see it yet, right?
Exactly. You still go through the blur.
So imagine if it was born with it in your hand.
Exactly.
See, we didn't have that.
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right. So communication was we were forced to communicate based on that.
Correct.
Like I said, you saw that crossover from with 30-something years here in New Haven. You saw the crossover. And this is a major part of the communication skills of our kids today.
Yeah.
You see, it's also in the suburbs. The communication skill is so far down. I refuse to take text. I seldomly take text. I call it the most passive-aggressive text and email. I check them. I do them. But I'm very hands-off when it comes to text and email because I don't check them all the time because, one, it eats up my time, and two, I think it's a form of passive aggression.
I'm the opposite. I'm a texter.
Yeah.
I text. But here's the thing.
That's why I don't reply to this guy.
I've never been able to have, if I'm in a heated discussion with somebody or a disagreement, I have to call them. Because the way texting comes across, you're like, are we arguing or are we not? You don't know.
And sometimes it escalates.
Because of the way people
exactly.
read. They don't hear what you say.
Right. They don't hear the reflections in the voices. Yeah. Do you implement that into the communication of working with your athletes? Do you highlight some of that stuff?
I don't, but that's something to talk to them about because I've never even really thought about this. It's become so mainstream,
right?
So
natural,
normal. I mean, my wife stares me down. We'll go out to dinner. I have buses out on the road. I'll have kids out. I can't just put my phone down.
Right.
But it's become so much that even when I can, it's hard to unplug.
What did the other coaches before you did? They did it.
They did. I know. But it's just like
we want to be there.
But I'm saying when we were kids and you went somewhere during the day, your mother hoped you went where you told her.
Right, exactly.
Now they can look,
They could track you.
Right,
Oh, yeah, exactly. Mental health in our youth. And this is a big thing. Now, one of the things that I really and truly, we're finally at that. I'm very happy. We're finally at that point in our society where we're starting to talk about mental health.
We don't have a choice. Think about this. I think about this all the time with our younger high school kids now.
Mm-hmm.
If you were in 6th or 7th grade when COVID came, and you were out of school for 2 years, you basically went from elementary school to high school.
Wow.
With no middle school experience, meaning you were in a classroom, you didn't switch, and now you're thrown into this high school experience without that middle school type of build-up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff we're seeing as negative.
I didn't even think of that.
I think about that all the time because I'm like, this is acting out in an elementary way at the high school level.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes across as like, what are you doing? But I'm like, they never got to do that.
They never got that social skill of understanding when and where and the teachers and all of that. And phones play a big role. I want to bring it back to it because you're already feeling small on that phone. It's the whole world. And then you're not communicating or making friends outside of that phone. You feel even more smaller. And that's where depression starts to kick in.
And nobody's taking their phone and putting up an Instagram story and being like, "Yeah, my life's not good."
Right.
Right?
Everybody's a
Nobody.
star.
Everybody's a
Everybody's
star.
a star,
So
yup.
you're looking at
Right.
this,
Yep.
going,
Right.
"Wow, everybody has a great life except me."
I
Yep.
had a psychiatrist in here as a guest, and he said something that really blew my mind. He said, the thing about social media that we have to be mindful of is that 1 minute you'll see something that's totally tragic, and next second, you are laughing. You didn't even have time to process.
that.
Or vice versa. You're laughing at one moment, and then next thing something really. And the processing of this, you can't even handle it. So you want to find something else to make you laugh again.
And I read this crazy thing about TikTok's algorithm.
Oh,
Yes, don't get us started.
Don't even
Bro,
get me
don't-
started.
Go, lay it down.
They want you to look at stuff that bothers you.
Yeah.
And
Right.
when you stop on something that's offensive,
Yeah.
it then
Like-
puts it into your what you see.
Yeah, your algorithm.
So imagine what that does to mental, especially if you're young.
Young.
Where the
Yep.
frontal, I'm always on this, the
Frontal
frontal lobe. It's not fully developed. This is where you make rational decisions.
Right.
And when that is not developed,
Yep.
how are you gonna make rational decisions based on stuff?
Right. Not developed.
Right.
You were basically locked out of society for 2
Yep.
years.
Yep.
And now you're thrown into this. We're back to normal.
Right.
Yeah. Act like nothing happened.
Right. Nothing happened.
It's like so you're focusing on the mental health of the kids. You make sure that they go on walks, which I love, by the way. From the minute I heard, I said, "Man, this guy, man, he's really know how to blow it up, man." Your reputation precedes you, and it's a good thing. I look at how you also work with the actual facility, like you said, how you have an open door and you have the kids inside of there. Is that part of like your? Well, I know you also you could know what they're doing.
Yeah, so
But-
it is by design a little bit. So
Mhm.
the hoodies, I gave you guys those hoodies.
Love
Yeah.
it.
I've given out 600 of those this year. I can't keep enough of them. I can't get enough of them. I can't get them to every kid. I
That's
want
because
to.
it got one of the hottest logos
They got a
out
fire
there.
logo.
But-
It has
but
the
it's-
hottest
Very
logo.
It's if you're a college athlete, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you walk into the athletic offices and the field house and all
Mhm.
that, you see all this logos, the gear. There's just
Yeah.
a sense of belonging.
Yes.
And I think mostly that's what all that's about. Like I want our kids to feel like I'll give you an example. When I took over 8 years ago, our track teams had to end practice because there was rentals that were renting the field house. So like another league would come in and they were paid, but I changed that because I'm like, this is our kids' field
Right.
house. So if they want to rent it, they can rent it at 5 o'clock
Right.
and not at 3, so our kids could finish practice. And
Right.
and the one thing that I tried to do, like, is really want our kids to feel like this is our
Home.
This is our home. This is
Right.
ours. We're the first priority.
Right.
Not if we make money off of rentals.
Right.
Not if we and you know what? We haven't lost any rentals over that. They
Right.
just had to. There's not
Adjust
enough.
their clocks.
Right. They had to adjust their clocks. But I want.
And you guys have like other districts like outside the suburbs. We're not just talking about New Haven.
all over the state comes there. For
yeah,
yeah.
I was impressed the other day. I was over there and I saw Beacon Falls. I saw was it Beacon Falls? It was
I'm
some
not sure.
different schools.
I think the NVL was there when you were
Yeah.
there. So
Okay.
It was a
No, it
Valley
was on
school.
2 different occasions,
Yeah.
and there were different schools there, and I was like, "Damn, this." And I'm looking because I saw blue, and I thought it was Hill House running track. No,
It might
they
not be their league. So
Yeah.
all the different districts rent the Floyd Little Athletic Center to have
Mhm.
their track meets, because if you go do it at a college, you're probably paying 4 or 5 times what we charge. So it's
Huh.
good. It makes revenue for our department, but I had to be that. Yeah, that's great, but it's
Right.
going to be after our kids use.
I want to talk about that field house. When I was growing up here in the city of New Haven, the big spot was the New Haven Coliseum,
Yes.
which they tore down.
Yeah.
It's now going to be housing over there
Yeah.
now. The field house is now the Coliseum, what the Coliseum was,
Yeah.
or even bigger because now, first of all, does Hill House, is that their home field? Their
No,
home
so
court?
Hill House has their own gym.
Their own gym is still
Cross
there.
has their own gym.
Okay.
So does Career. So the field house, all our track teams practice there.
Okay.
All our basketball teams get opportunities to to play in the
Okay.
field house. I mean, does Hill House get in there more? Yeah, because they're connected to
Right,
it.
right.
But it is a facility for all our schools to practice and play in.
When I tell you people, and by the way, we're going to be utilizing the field house for visuals.
Yeah.
When I say this is such a beautiful facility, uh, do you guys have all the equipment that the kids need? You know what? Put it on blast, man. If you know that
So one thing, and I'll knock on wood for New Haven,
okay,
is our board
yeah,
and our administration
Mhm.
takes care of athletics.
oh, okay,
We are so fortunate when I see what goes on in other urban areas as far
right,
as
right,
our kids always have what they need for athletics. If you come and you've been to games,
Mhm.
we have the very best of uniforms.
yeah, right, right.
We have and we've been very fortunate to have people in power, people who are in the mayor's office, people on our board who understand how important athletics is to our kids. And it's
Mhm.
not did they win, did they lose? It's like think about what you get out of being on a team. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could probably think back to your childhood and think of friends you had that you
Right.
played on teams with.
Right.
A lot of kids, it's an incentive to go to school and do well
Mhm.
because they want to play.
Mhm.
It's a time where you could show what you could do in front of your community when
Right,
games.
right,
There's a
right.
lot. There's a lot about that goes into athletics, and you know the winning and losing is part of it. I mean, I don't know if you know or people listening know, but Hill House has more state championships than any program in the nation. 24. They're tied with a school from New York.
Hill House High.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you guys have generations over there.
Yeah.
Oh, at Hill House, they're just the Brooks family. I know. I know Poppy Brooks, the Phil Brooks, the son. Now you got Nakai. What's Brooks? Nakai Brooks. Yeah, he's over there. I mean, you guys, that's just one family, but you have generations of different
The
families.
culture of athletics at Hill House is unique.
Keep in mind, all of them were some form of championship team.
Yeah, the culture there is unique. Like it's a unique sports culture. Like they expect to win over there. They expect to win.
Yeah. Now, the Cross and Corinne, those are the big three.
Yeah.
Now, when someone go to high school in the community or MBA, which is Metropolitan Business Academy, or any of the other high schools, how many we have total high schools? We have like 5, 6 of them.
I think there's 11. I think we have 11 different magnet schools. And your question's like, where do they play? So depending on their neighborhood, where they're registered, they're either across for sports, or either across or Hill House athlete. Yeah.
Okay. ESOMs.
Same. ESOMs is one of our magnet schools.
Right.
Those kids who go there, like
his brother, my other son, he went to ESOMs, but this is when they were up in Hamden.
Yeah.
But he was the first graduating class from there, 2015.
When they were at Leader Hill.
Right, exactly.
I was there because Troop was there.
At
the same time, and I was teaching there.
Oh, shoot. We had to cross that.
Yeah, we probably had.
We had to. Yeah. Okay, so we had when they moved over to UNH, they don't utilize UNH any of their facilities
for athletics? No, they do have some partnerships with UNH.
Yeah,
I'm not, it's out of my realm, so I'm not sure. But we don't use their. Matter of fact, UNH rents the field house early in the morning for their track practices.
Oh,
they don't have a facility like that.
Oh, so the field house again. We're coming back to this facility. I'm telling you, and the reason why I'm highlighting that because it does play a psyche on our kids.
For sure.
It does mess with their psyche. Either positive or negative. Maybe when I say negative, maybe anxious, maybe get them a little anxious. Do you guys keep that in mind when you're working with we're coming up on games?
So we very carefully decide what games we put in the field house.
Oh, okay.
And what games they play in their home gym.
Oh, okay.
So there's and it's one of them obviously is based on the amount of interest in the game and what kind of crowd size you'll have.
Right.
But there's sometimes like normally if Hill House and Hamden played, we'd go in the field house. But sometimes we think, well, it might be an advantage to Hill House to play in the small gym. And if we think that and we think we could safely do it, I talk to our security people every day. They're probably so sick of me. But, we'll do that. Yeah. We'll do that. Cross and Hill House game has always been a neutral site game. We've always played that. Before we had the field house, we used to play at Southern in the Coliseum at Yale.
Right.
We now play that in the field house.
Mhm.
It's a neutral site, but
You got the 26 cross versus Hill House.
yeah, Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
But if you ask the cross kids, they'll say, no, we're playing it at Hill House.
Oh, is that right?
But
Oh,
it is technically
right, the field house.
a neutral site.
Right, a neutral site.
And, leading up to playoffs or big games like that, we'll give, both teams opportunities to practice on that court.
Mhm.
It's a unique court, it has a different kind of shooting background because of how big the building is. So
Mhm.
it's also an advantage to us to play on that against teams who've never played there because it takes a quarter or so to figure out how to shoot in that building.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. As you mentioned earlier, the coach from Hill House, the former, well, you could say former now, Coach Lightel, he's leaving. His last game, cross Hill House, that rivalry that's been going on since I was a kid, ended a little rough.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So not like on the other one, I could say we weren't the aggressor. Right? I can't say that about that, but every time something happens,
Mhm.
you could either get mad or you could try to figure out what happened and learn from it.
Mhm.
And my take on that was, yes, it's a rivalry, but
Mhm.
the kids have to know each other separate from this is a guy playing like I'm playing against you. I don't know you, but I already don't like you. But if I knew you,
Mm.
I might not like you during the game, but it might not lead to that. So after that, I brought the Project Pride guys in. I brought all three of our boys teams together one day,
Mhm.
and we did all that.
This is after that.
This is after that, yeah.
Wow.
For a basketball season.
Right.
These are our basketball.
What's even cooler about what you're saying is because that was the last game of the season.
Right. You gotta
So
learn
you
from it.
still pull them back.
Right. You got to learn from
Okay.
it. So we brought those kids together. We did that stuff with them. They didn't want to talk to each other at first, but as it went on, you could see it change. And then they ate pizza together. Like it was a good thing. We did the same thing with the girls teams. It was a good thing. And this is the formula we're going to try with Bassett because in sitting there thinking about it, and yeah, originally we canceled the game, but I'm like, I want our kids to play Bridgeport.
Right.
I want our kids to play Hartford.
Right.
I want our kids to play Waterbury. That's important.
Right.
That's important. So we have to learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to learn from it. And going forward in the future, do we do stuff prior to the season?
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
We're in discussion about that. I can't say we're going to do that, but we're going to see how this goes, and we're gonna try to make this a better.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we want it to be a rivalry, but we don't want it to be a hated rivalry.
Right.
We have enough of that going on.
Exactly.
Out
a whole bunch of
the
other
streets.
stuff.
Right. We don't want that, but we do want the kids to be proud of being from New Haven, proud of being from Bridgeport, but compete hard against each other, and then it's over.
Right.
So
I'm speaking with Erik Patchkofsky. Did I see your name right, or am I tearing it up?
Nobody could say that name.
Well,
So it's Patchkofsky.
Patchkofsky.
Yeah.
Now, what is that?
I don't even know. I've heard a lot of stuff. So on my mother's side, we're Italian. She's a Coppola.
Okay.
But on that side,
Are you related to Mark?
to
Mark Coppola?
No.
Oh, okay.
but there's a million Coppolas.
Yeah, that's true.
But
But he's here from New Haven.
yeah, but on my father's side, like I've heard 20 different stories with that name. It's definitely Eastern Bloc country.
Yes,
That I
it
can tell
is.
you. That
Yes,
I
it
can
is.
tell
You
you.
can tell me that much.
Yeah.
Speaking of Eric, that.
Well,
Eric
you know,
P.
the kids call me P, right?
So, a Christian, he blows my mind how he knows how to.
He said my name right. In the
Yeah,
interview.
you
I
saw that,
noticed
right?
that.
Oh, okay. I'm talking. Excuse me. I take the camera off of me. Please, thank you. Woo. I don't know. I just have this. Must have been straining my eyes again because all of a sudden I get that. But anyway, speaking with Eric, and as the athletic director, you see summer period comes around. What do you do? Because I know there are some kids in districts that can afford to send their kids off to camps
Yes.
or such.
Yes.
Now, what triggered this in my thoughts is that you mentioned putting these kids together off season prior to the school
Right. So
year.
there's some rules against our coaches working with kids in the off season,
Mm.
but we have been working really hard.
The rules, they're not supposed to.
Coaches aren't allowed to work with athletes when they're not in season.
So when you say working with, that means only at sports.
at sports,
Okay,
but
but
it's old. It's an old. It's been around forever, but
mhm,
it doesn't do anything for equity because
mhm,
if you're from a wealthy community
mhm,
and all your kids go to say let's say football, it could be any
mhm,
sport, but they go to football camp for 5 weeks in the summer, and our
Hmm.
kids are just getting together 3 weeks before the season starts. We're
mhm.
at a huge disadvantage.
Right.
There's proposals out there that will be coming down the pike soon. That are hopefully going to change that rule where our coaches can work with kids in the off season
Mhm.
on a limited basis. I think that's extremely important for urban districts.
Right.
I when I first came on, me and the CIAC, we had a lot of discussions about equity and representation and all that. Um, if you there's an article that I kind of went after
I
for
know.
having no urban representation on their boards, but I
Right.
have to say that the leadership there, they listened. They came down to New Haven. They listened. They met with
Mhm.
people from our community besides me,
Mhm.
and I feel like they're actually making. This is one of the changes they're making. But
Mhm.
they now have included some of our people on the sports committee boards and all that. They started an equity committee for athletes that kids who meet and discuss those topics and stuff. So I'm not like, yes, we made it, but
Right.
I'm
You see him
encouraged.
chip it away.
I'm encouraged by the conversation. I'm
Mhm.
encouraged by the recognition that, because when I was coaching the Q House, say in 1991 or two, I didn't feel like anyone cared
Mm.
about. But I feel like you know society's changed a little bit too in the last couple of years. So I feel like people are looking at it going, wait a minute, there is a lot of inequalities for urban sports teams, for urban
Mhm.
athletes, and I think have they all been addressed and
Mhm.
addressed and it's perfect? No, but at least the conversations are happening, and if we can make some changes for after I'm not this job and the next generation of kids have a better more level playing field,
Mhm.
that'd be amazing. If I retired and they said, "Hey, you help get a better level playing field for urban athletes," I
You
feel
did
like I
something
did my
nice.
job. Right,
That's
I did
nice.
my job.
One of the working with youth, well, the athletes off season. That is specifically like if you're football, you can't do
Do
football stuff.
correct?
Okay.
Correct.
Because one of the things that you mentioned earlier was how you work with the kids about this peer-to-peer stuff. I don't, I forgot what you called it.
Well, we're able to get a lot of our kids hired through that youth at work through the city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
a lot of our athletes will work like our coaches run camps or different things like that, and
Okay.
we're able to hire a lot of our athletes. And obviously, you can't hire every kid.
Right.
Can't give, but we are able to give a lot of kids opportunities.
So they open up the camps at different
Yeah, they're all,
gyms
like
all
every
over the country.
school has
Right.
different. Every school in New Haven has different stuff going on
And
in the
those
summer.
kids
Yeah.
working. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's real cool.
But I mean, is it? Yes, we get to reach all our kids. No, but
Yeah.
it's the off-season stuff is tough because all the time that our coaches aren't around. Also,
Right.
they have families. It's summer. It's so it's not all the time that everyone could do that.
Right.
I have to negotiate my vacations with my wife because I'm like, I can't go away before August. 'cause
He's in Florida with the phone.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't. I'm gonna take a long vacation when I retire.
Oh, don't say that,
Yeah,
man.
but
You're never gonna retire.
Not anytime soon. It's I still love going there, working with our kids every single day. Like
Mhm.
even I was down after that fight. I can't lie to you. I was upset by that.
Mhm.
But
Was it the fight or the coverage? Which one bother you the most?
it was both. The coverage.
Okay.
The coverage is
Terrible.
terrible. Like
Totally terrible.
I stop. You
Yeah.
wrote an article that a fight happened. That's great.
Mhm.
But now you want to
Not
write
great,
a
but-
second one, a third
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Like why?
Right.
You're to me, like I said earlier, you're exploiting our kids so you can get more clicks. It's sensationalism.
Total.
But you won't do that when it happens in communities that have wealth.
Right.
I don't see it.
Goes
And
back to that property value thing, man.
And if it is going on, I haven't read it or seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
No.
I want to switch gears real quick.
Sure.
I want to talk about Damar Hamlin situation, Buffalo Bills player who.
This is why we were originally going to talk.
I know
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
This was the one topic I figured I could corner him and get him in here on, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do want to talk on this real quick. Damar Hamlin, young man, 24 years old,
Yep.
suffered a heart attack. If you are under a rock and didn't hear about this, while playing football, and it had its own trauma behind it.
Scary.
Exactly. How did you guys? How did your program
Yeah.
address this with your athletes? I
So-
mean,
so
of course, the football season
it
was
was
finished
over,
for us,
right.
but still.
So I talked to our football coaches a lot about this.
Mhm.
A couple of things, like if you watch an NFL game,
Mhm.
those guys aren't wearing the equipment anymore.
Yeah.
They don't have pads in their pants. They're wearing these little skimpy shoulder pads.
All
et
right.
cetera. So for that, and two, we don't know if he had a pre-existing condition that caused it, but it is. You can take a blunt hit to the chest at the exact right time
Right.
in any sport,
Right.
in soccer,
Mhm.
in lacrosse, whatever, where if you get hit right at the right time, it could stop your heart from beating.
Right.
So
Right.
there's a risk to living, right?
Yeah.
No matter what we do.
Right.
But I think football wise, we gotta, again, you gotta learn from this stuff, right?
Right. Right.
So if you look at football, most of our injuries happen during the kicking game, the
Mhm.
kickoff.
Mhm.
Because you think about it, you take these 200+ pound people who can
Right.
run 4 or quicker speeds,
Right.
and you have them running a 100-yard field at each other in opposite directions. You're bound to get injured.
Something.
So will we look at the kicking game? I think so. I think at some point it's going to be you score a touchdown or kick a field goal, you're going to get the ball on the 20-yard line on the other side. But also, do we need, so like lacrosse? Last year was the first year. They now require a chest plate over the heart on their shoulder pads because a lacrosse
Crossball.
could
Yeah.
go 100 miles an hour.
Right,
It could cause that same
Wow.
effect. So it's like anything else. That hasn't really happened, and we haven't seen that in football. We've seen people break their neck and be crippled, but we haven't seen that. So you got to look at that and say, what happened? And you
Mhm.
can't jump to conclusions because, like, again, I said, we don't know. We may come out, hey, he had this rare heart murmur. It was
Right.
never
Never
because
detected before.
We've had, basketball players drop dead on the court
Right.
in college
Right.
and different things. And
Yeah.
it's scary because anytime I've seen some injuries on our football teams that you're like, oh no. And luckily, knock on wood, none of them have been that yet. But watching it on TV is one thing, but being in it is
Right.
scary because now you're like, this is someone's life you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But I think we have to take these situations, like not do what we did with COVID, where we just started making up rules and
Right. Right.
changing them every day or whatever.
Right.
But you have to really look at these and say, why did that happen? And
Right.
was it a freak accident, or is it something that if we look at the game, we could make it preventable? Like, I'm a hockey fan.
Oh, you are.
I love the Boston Bruins. I have a half-season ticket. I'm a huge-
That's
but when I was a kid, hockey players didn't wear helmets.
true.
Goalies,
Yeah.
my father's generation, goalies didn't wear them.
Whoa.
So somebody
learn.
at some point said, there's a puck
Puck
flying
fly-
around 100 miles an hour. We probably should put helmets on these guys.
Yeah.
So
Have you seen any decline in kids coming into over your period here? Have you seen declines of kids getting involved in football or in?
So football numbers are definitely down. Not New Haven.
Oh, okay.
Overall.
Oh, okay.
Overall, everywhere you go. I mean, there's some programs still have big numbers, but when you have like pro football players going, I don't know if I want my kid to
Right.
play football.
Right.
You definitely see a decline. Again, if there's a decline and we're seeing stuff like that, we got to learn from it and
Right.
say, because it's a great game, right?
It's modern day
It's
gladiators,
a
man.
great game, but the football you watched as a
Mhm.
kid in the 70s and 80s
Right.
that I watched is not the football that's played today.
No.
They
no.
would kill a quarterback. You didn't even know his name. He'd come
Right.
back in it.
Right.
Play. The game has changed. Remember that whole, I think this was in the late 90s where they had that whole group of players sue the NFL because of post-concussion syndrome.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and they-
ETC.
and they learned
EC.
from that, right?
Right. Exactly.
Right.
What was it? ETC.
Or
EC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever it was bad.
Right.
It was creating some serious brain.
And they say the guy from the Patriots, Hernandez.
Hernandez,
was
yes,
suffering
he
from
was
that.
suffering from it as well,
Right.
along with other things.
Yes.
Yeah,
But I mean, that can't
Yeah.
help, right?
Right, definitely, but that's not going to work. Eric Patchkofsky, I hope I said his name right. I probably butchered it
That was
again.
not bad. That wasn't
Oh,
bad.
I tried so hard, man.
Patchkofsky.
You should have
Patch.
seen my
It's simple. It's Patch.
Pat
Cough.
cough.
Ski.
Patchkofsky.
Yeah, you
Oh,
got
okay,
it.
Patch, you
Patchkofsky.
got it.
Okay, I got it now. Eric Patchkofsky. I had to say it like that. Thank you so much for coming in,
Oh,
man.
that was my
It was a
pleasure.
beautiful
I
hour,
know
man.
I put you off a couple times.
Yeah, but I appreciate it. You came in here today, and we were able to touch base on some stuff that I know was a lot of parents are thinking about. A lot of people in the local area, in the athletes. So I'm glad that you shared this time with us, man. Well, man, he runs the New Haven Athletics. He is New Haven Athletic Director. Make sure our kids are doing well, and more so than just being athletes, he make sure that they're good human beings.
Come out to any game and support our kids.
Absolutely.
They love to see your face.
Absolutely. Let's fill up that field house, man.
Yeah.
I want to have that place sold out. By the way, we want to cover, we're going to bring back Game Point real hard.
Yeah.
I have this whole thing. I had to back off to get some breather with the kids.
Yep.
We'll talk about that, but I definitely want to come back strong with
Anytime.
Okay.
Our kids love being on the
Yeah.
TV with them. They love like you said, they're calling about could they be the next interview. So that's a great
great
thing.
great angle for them. Great.
Yeah.
And look, we're expanding real strong with that. I'll talk more with you behind the scenes on that. Listen, man, thanks a lot for coming in once again. And I'll be at the games, man.
All right. Thank
what,
you.
What exactly did I just do here? Did I just double tap here?
Just one time. And the
Oh,
screen will
okay.
come
There
up.
we go.
Not yet.
All right, here we go.